In today's review, we're going to cover 7 of the best Brooks shoes for walking, whether you want to use it for lifestyle use, if you stand for long periods during the day, or if you want to use it for longer walk. And if we look at the Brooks Glycerin 22, we've got a relatively broad base support underneath your foot, and we've got the DNA tuned nitrogen-infused cushioning, which is a brand new type of cushioning by Brooks. We have large cells in the rear foot and narrow density pack cells in the forefoot, and that means when you initiate contact with the ground, it gives you a smoother contact, it gives you better absorption of vibration, so all around a little bit more comfortable under the heel. And then the narrower, more density pack cells in the forefoot assist with the push-off phase of the gait cycle. Whereas in the Ghost 17, we don't have the same type of mixed blended cells in the midsole. What we have is a DNA Loft V3 midsole. So it's a little bit quicker of a turnover in terms of the geometry and the feel of the shoe. So if you're looking for a softer feel when you initiate contact with the ground, look towards the Glycerin 22. If you're looking for a bit snappier of a shoe, a bit more responsive, that moves faster from the back to the front of the shoe, and it's a bit more balanced overall in terms of the cushioning, then you might look towards the Ghost 17. Whereas if you're looking for a really light, nimble shoe, you might look towards the Brooks Hyperion 3. Now it comes in around 232 grams for a size 9 men's US, 286 grams in the Ghost and 289 grams in the Glycerin 22. So much lighter than the two other shoes. It's got a slightly narrower platform, but it's got a very responsive midsole with a DNA Flash nitrogen injected midsole. So that's very bouncy, very quick, very springy overall. Whereas you've a little bit more balance in the Ghost 17 and a bit more comfort focus in the Glycerin 22. The fits on top are very much different as well. So while we have an engineered mesh on all of them, we have a much more breathable mesh on top of the Hyperion. Slightly less breathable in the Ghost 17, and then a bit more focused on comfort, a bit more plush in the Glycerin 22. It's a lot narrower in the toe box in the Hyperion 3. So as you can see, compared to the Glycerin 22, it just doesn't taper as much in the Glycerin 22, and as a result there's a lot more space in the toe box. If you've got a wider foot, you might not enjoy the Hyperion 3, and the Ghost 17 sits somewhere in the middle of these two. We've got plenty of padding on the Glycerin and on the Ghost 17, both around the tongue and around the heel cup. A real focus on comfort and extra padding around the heel cup of the Glycerin 22 compared to what we see in the Hyperion 3. So overall, if you're looking for a relatively neutral shoe, a bit more stability focused, a bit more comfort focused, then you might look towards the Glycerin 22. If you're looking for a quick and responsive shoe that's relatively light, then you might look towards the Hyperion 3. And then if you're looking for something in the middle that's a bit more balanced, a bit more enjoyable for day-to-day wear, then you might look towards the Ghost 17. Now the drops are relatively similar, so you've got 10 mils on the Glycerin and the Ghost, and you've got slightly lower than 8 mils on the Hyperion 3. Lower the drop just gives a bit more even distribution of pressure across your foot. Slightly higher drop can help offload the Achilles tendon. If you've got any questions on these, drop in the comment section below. I got links in the description if you want to check out the latest prices. As we move on to more stability focus, we've got two main shoes in the Brooks range. These are the Brooks Glycerin GTS 22 and the Brooks Adrenaline GTS 24. So they provide stability in very similar ways, but they feel completely different underfoot. So let's touch on what's similar, and that's the go-to support system. So you can see the stripy pattern on the inside of the shoe on the Adrenaline. So it's denser than the softer foam underneath, and it acts as a form of arch support that extends from the heel all the way up to the arch. So if you're someone who enjoys that pressure underneath the arch of your foot in terms of helping to control pronation moments, then you'll enjoy the Adrenaline GTS 24. It's even more prominent on the Glycerin 22. So you can see you've got stripy pattern on the outside around the heel and towards the inside on the heel and the midfoot, and you can really feel it press up into the sole of your shoe, and that's because the cushioning underneath the foot is a little bit firmer, and therefore it really pushes up into that arch and really gives a firm supportive feel. It's got a nice broad base support which increases the amount of contact that you have with the ground, so it's wider than what we see in the Adrenaline, and therefore it results in greater sole flare in the forefoot, where the sole comes out wider than where your foot sits in the shoe, allowing for more space in the toe box than what we see in the Adrenaline. Now the Adrenaline has a normal amount of space in the toe box, but it also comes in a wide and an extra wide, as does the Glycerin. They differ in weight slightly, with 303 grams in the Glycerin 22 and 283 grams in the Adrenaline GTS 24. So slightly lighter shoe, mild to moderate stability in the Adrenaline, whereas we've got a slightly heavier shoe, a bit more comfort focused in the Glycerin GTS 22, and therefore providing a bit more stability. So moderate to max stability shoe, lots of comfort in there, just a little bit heavier underfoot. They differ slightly in drop as well. We've got a 12mm drop in the Adrenaline and a 10mm drop in the Glycerin 22 GTS. So that's really important because it helps offload the Achilles. But those of you who have sensitivity on the ball of the foot, if you're standing for long periods of time, you may not enjoy having that slight drop towards your forefoot, as it can just put extra pressure and therefore cause a little bit of sensitivity underneath the ball of the foot. Not the case for everybody, but just if you have a history of that, it's something to keep in mind. So two excellent options could be used as lifestyle shoes for standing, for walking, but it can also be used for easy runs and some longer runs for those of you who need a bit more stability in their life. Finally, we look towards those max stack shoes in the Brooks range, which have become highly popular in today's walkers and runners. We've got a really interesting shoe in the Brooks Ghost Max 3 that was recently released. So they've upgraded it from the Ghost Max 2 by increasing the base of support underneath the shoe. So you can see now we've got a very broad shoe that doesn't narrow too much in the midfoot. That really increases the stability of the shoe. And we've got extremely large sidewalls on the heel, on the outside and on the inside of the shoe, which come up, cradle your foot and help to control those pronation moments. As a result of the broad base underneath it, it's got a really wide toe box. So it's really accommodating for those of you who have orthotic needs, or for those of you who just have a broader foot and you need extra space in the toe box and throughout the whole shoe. It also comes in a wide version as well for those of you who need it. It's got the DNA Loft V3 nitrogen-infused midsole, so it's really good at initiating contact with the ground, helps absorb that vibration and impact, and transitions nicely throughout to the forefoot without having too much toe spring in the shoe. So an excellent option if you want an orthotic-friendly shoe, or if you just want a relatively balanced cushioned shoe that's really broad and provides lots of comfort underfoot. Then we have a recently released shoe in September 25, which is new to the market, the Brooks Defiance Max. So it's here as a cheaper alternative to the Brooks Ghost Max 3, as the DNA Loft V2 cushioning versus the V3 that we see in the Max 3. So it's a bit firmer underfoot, you feel a bit more contact with the ground as a result. It has a very similar profile in terms of a 6mm drop, and it has 39mm in the rear foot, 33 in the forefoot. It doesn't have as much space in the toe box as what we see in the Ghost Max 3, and it's not as wide underneath in terms of the platform. So the broad base of support in the Ghost Max 3 is compensated in this by having a slightly firmer cushioning, and therefore that inherently makes it a bit more stable. We've got two sidewalls on the outside towards the heel and the midfoot, and similarly on the inside as well, to try and provide them elements of stability. So it's very much a stable neutral shoe, as is the Ghost Max 3. So it's just not as plush, not as maybe soft underfoot, and doesn't have the same width options on top as the Ghost Max 3, but it comes in around $120 versus $160 in the Ghost Max 3. And then we have the really high-end premium max cushion shoe in the Brooks Glycerin Max. Now this is one of my favourite shoes on the market by quite some way. However, it's got a huge amount of cushioning underneath your foot, with 45mm in the rear foot and 39 in the forefoot. As a result, it's got a really stiff forefoot, and it's got an excellent forefoot rocker. So you can see, compared to the Defiance Max, it comes up very quickly towards the end, therefore facilitates a really good push-off phase of the gait cycle without needing lots of extension from your toes. As a result, you've got a really nice transition from the back to the front of the shoe. You've got a much bouncier, much softer cushioning in the shoe compared to the other two models. Therefore, it's much better absorbing impact and vibration, and really gets you through to the forefoot very quickly. So an excellent option if you're a quicker walker, or you want to use it for a mix of walking, standing and running. So really comfortable underfoot, but because it's not as broad as the other two shoes underneath, it's therefore not as stable. So those of you who have some more stability needs, you might not enjoy it as much as you might do in the Ghost Max 3. However, if you want a really bouncy, springy, fun shoe, lots of protection underneath the forefoot, especially for those of you with big toe issues, this is an excellent option. Just to be aware, it's a little bit narrower in the toe box than the other two shoes, so you don't have the same space options, and it's got a nice padded tongue, lots of comfort around the heel cup, and just an excellent all-round shoe overall. I've got links to it in the description if you want to check out the latest prices on Amazon. If you've got any questions on any of the shoes that I discussed, please drop them in the comment section below. If you found the video helpful or interesting, like and share and subscribe. It makes a massive difference to the channel.